Georgetown, the team now has to turn around and face Butler, who certainly doesn't have the brand name of Georgetown, at least not this year, nor the record. How do you get your team prepared to turn around in short notice and play an opponent that may be viewed as lesser?
Well, our players are aware that Butler in the last decade has been to two Final Fours, and that they're members of this team. Their nucleus has been to two Final Fours and a consistent NCAA tournament team. Also, our players are aware that they've been as competitive as anyone in this conference. 6 overtime games. They've ended up, I think, losing 5 of those games, but they've taken the top half of the league to task. And I think our players understand the fact we start out 0-5 gives us an appreciation for how dangerous teams can be, independent of their record. And so our focus is on continuing to play good basketball and continue the momentum in a positive direction. So we'll be ready for this challenge.
Positive.
That was funny.
How does it feel to have the team play so great right now?
Well, it's a situation where our staff is pleased for this group of kids because they went through some tough times, well chronicled, our own fight, 0-5 start in Big East play, but at the same time, I think the group realizes we have a lot of work to do, and there isn't a fat cat syndrome where I sense anyone thinking that we've arrived or that we've accomplished anything of significance. So they're still a very hungry, humble group with a hard edge, and our best basketball is still ahead of us. We have a number of areas where we need to improve or elevate if we expect to do something special in March.
What would you say the difference between the way the team's playing now and the 0-5 start? What's attributed to turn it out to?
Yeah, I think there are a number of factors. One is just when you get practice time and more games, you have the opportunity to learn from those experiences. And then there are some specific areas that we've improved. I think defensively, we're tied together in terms of our ball pressure along with our help side defense. And offensively, our execution has improved as the year has gone along. The half court, we're getting to the foul line more frequently. We're getting high percentage looks. We're shooting a higher percentage. We have a nice balance of points in the paint, but also attacking the three-point line well, and we shoot the ball well from mid-range, and we create well off the bounce. And we're shooting a high percentage from the free throw line. So as a result, we've been able to play good basketball over this past month. So I'd say we're better offensively, we're better defensively, we have better chemistry, and then there are certain players that have elevated their play as well. Rashid Jordan, Chris Obekba, Jakar Sampson, and some really valuable contributions from some of our role players as well.
Are you excited for the stretch run?
Yeah, we tend to keep an even keel. That's kind of our approach, very pragmatic in the way we operate. And I'm not a guy that gets too high after a win or gets too down after a loss, but just try and stay the course, as we call it, the path of progress, and just continue to try and improve on each day or on a daily basis. And but we are pleased that we're playing better basketball, that we've improved as a team, but we also don't want to get caught up in the fantasy of the future. So we're going to stay grounded, just try and get a little bit better each day, and I think the winning will be a byproduct of taking that approach.
Steve, I know that you expected this team to rise around this time of year, but over this remarkable month, is there any one aspect of play, any one player, any one aspect of a player's game that you have found remarkable or that's exceeded what you were thinking?
No. Yeah. I thought about it. Yeah, it's because if you kind of go down the line, I mean, this was the player that we recruited. You know, Raishi Jordan is now playing, you know, with a comfort level that, you know, we would have projected. And that's why we were so pleased to sign him, because we knew he's one of those special, you know, point guards or quarterbacks. And then Chris Obekba's evolution, I knew he worked hard in the offseason on his game. He's continued to work on being more aggressive. And he's definitely improved from the earlier part of the season, but I wouldn't say it's surprising or caught us off guard, because we knew in the offseason he really focused on being more aggressive, being more assertive offensively, and even working on the skills, which is translated into confidence when he gets those catches. D'Angelo, I knew, you know, coming back in was going to be a challenge for him after he'd been kicked off the team, but there was no reason in my mind to think that he wouldn't eventually, you know, provide the type of leadership and perform at a high level as he is.
How about Sampson's passion for defense?
I'd say, you know, I've always felt he had the potential to be a Stacey Augmon type, you know, because he reminds me of Stacey Augmon in terms of his build. I think, and, you know, his ranginess and his energy that you know, runs through his body. It's kind of like a higher level of electricity. The voltage is off the charts in terms of his kind of hyperkinetic energy. You know, when that's channeled in the right way, he can be an excellent defender, as we've seen in this recent stretch. But again, I wouldn't say that was surprising either. You know, I mean, because he's shown it in stretches. So I think a number of these guys, a number of the kids, it's just the natural progression or evolution of their game. And then the team's play as a result is also kind of that high tide rises all ships. We're seeing that effect. So you have a number of players that individually have improved certain skills or added certain dimensions to their game, be it offense or defense. You know, Jakar, defense, Obekba, offense, you know, but then Rashid on both sides of the ball and just a comfort level. D'Angelo with leadership and judgment, playmaking, and rounding his game out. You know, you put that all together, and then you've got a team that's on the rise.
I know you said nothing surprised you about everything going on during this run, but when they're 0-5, I mean, you know things are going to get someone better because this team's kind of
Sure.
too talented to be held down like that.
Sure.
And you knew what the potential was,
Yeah.
that it could get to this level. But is there a point during that where you're just like, you know, even if it's a sliver of, you just don't know if they're going to get it together because you just don't know how guys are going to gel sometimes, that even
Yeah.
though the potential is there.
Yeah.
Was that anything you ever had to work
Well,
out?
I mean, the only reason I think if we didn't have, I think the tendency maybe as a coach, if you didn't like the group of kids, then I think that would be a concern. But because, you know, we recruited them and I know them so well, so I implicitly knew that we were going to win games. You know, you once you're 0-5, you worry about having enough time. But I knew that our trajectory was moving north from the Georgetown game forward, which is clear that that next week and the next game that we lost those 3 straight close games. But it was, you know, and then obviously I saw the sneak preview. Well, it was Syracuse, right? It was the first time I realized, like, wow, we can play with anybody in the country, even going back to Wisconsin. I mean, but Syracuse and then Villanova, you know. So there were so many positives. Not in terms of the outcomes of the games, but as a coach, you look at it, you want to win every game, but I'm looking at it on different levels and aware of those things we talked about before that were in play. You know, so because I enjoyed working with the group, it's a group we really like. We know them so well, and we knew 3 straight top 10 recruiting classes that it was just going to take some time. So I was concerned. Once we were 0-5, my only concern was would we have enough time, enough games to make this type of run. You know? And fortunately, we've been able to.
With, you know, Jordan getting I don't know exactly, the past 8 games, 30-something minutes. I mean, obviously, big jump from where he was early in the season. Obviously, rotation gotten tighter. It's been pretty
Sure.
much around the 8-man.
Yeah,
I mean, it
yeah.
seems like the guys responded very well to the increased minutes and the tighter rotation.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think, and it's, that also is, as players perform, then they earn more minutes. So it's kind of chicken and the egg, cart and the horse, that as Rashid's play improved, then, and his consistency in terms of his, approach to practice and preparation for games, and then the performance in the games leads to increased minutes. And same thing with Obekba, as his productivity increased, he was rewarded with more minutes. And and then there are things, you just sometimes too, that through the course of the season, we've had sometimes foul trouble, will dictate, the distribution of minutes, or even matchups, like Max in certain games, is not as good a matchup as he is in others. And we have confidence that we can put him in there, and I can even start him, and he'd help our cause. Same with Gift. I think there's some games where Gift is ideal and can play anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, or can start for us. So that's one of the nice things about having the depth and the pieces that we have, is we can go with different combinations, and we keep our guys sharp. So when called upon, they're ready to deliver and perform. In that Casino Hall game, Max hits a big three, in a 1-point game. As it turns out, if he doesn't hit that shot, we lose. So Gift, last night didn't play a lot, but gets in there, gets it done. Gave someone a blow. I forget, it was in foul trouble or something. They wanted to throw it back initially. So, but yeah, I think there's a good. I think your overarching point there's a good rhythm. The team's kind of found their stride. Both some individual players have, and then also the group as a whole is they're clicking or getting closer to hitting on all cylinders. I don't think we're there yet, but we're moving in that direction.
Can you pretty much, because Rashid, played very inconsistent minutes early on,
Yeah.
is there less concern with the freshman wall that a lot of kids hit, that you can have him play 35 minutes or so going forward, and
Could, yeah, it could,
not as
it
much
could
an
be.
issue?
Yep, and we've been, mindful of, taking an occasional day off, or just watching film and doing what we call a school session, so that we can stay fresh physically. And then as the year goes on, we're also mindful of keeping them alert and fresh mentally. There's that psychic energy or fuel that you have to, be aware of, that you're burning as a student athlete, and then there's the physical fuel or energy, and so with those two, you try and sometimes bridle things back a little bit, and then pick your spots, for when we're going to really get after it. So you have to be a little more strategic with travel and the schedule and what point in the season we're at, and some of it's just a pulse or a feel for your team. Do I feel they're a little bit fatigued, like a baby that doesn't get its rest, or and gets cranky and irritable. You can see those signs, not cranky and irritable, but you can, when a team, in other words, sometimes I think teams lose a game or they have a tough stretch, and it's because they're not getting enough rest. And oftentimes turnovers, like, to be honest, I thought in the Seton Hall game we retired, because I think we had spent so much energy and emotional fuel in that Creighton game that we were, and there were other elements to it. I think Seton Hall played well, but I think sometimes turnovers are, it's a mental fatigue too, where you're not at the height of your powers in decision making, so you start making bad judgments or choices.
Is that fatigue factor?
So-
Is that fatigue factor that you're describing something that's a concern going into this game, because you've just played
Yep.
and you're
Yeah.
turning around fast?
Yeah, no, it's I think tomorrow we'll probably substitute more liberally, feel that we, if that is, and that's again, it's, each game is different, time and score and personnel and where we are in the season and where our team is. Like I would have liked to use Jamal, but I didn't feel comfortable since he's been out for the 5 days.
Did he
throwing
practice?
him in a game of that magnitude, but I
Did
expect
he
to play him
practice
tomorrow.
today?
Yeah, he looked
Today?
good. He looked good. So I think he'll be ready to go tomorrow, which will help us in terms of that, getting Rashida blow and sometimes playing them together. He played really well against Butler the first time. He had 8 assists, no turnovers. So.
Along with that, the physical fatigue that you described that you need to kind of manage, is there a mental or emotional fatigue in just that you need to manage the guys and the fact that because of the 0-5 start, every game, I'm sure, has felt like a must-win to them, and to some degree for an NCAA tournament has been.
Yeah.
Is there can that be an overload sometimes? And I can just imagine how exhausting that is game after game.
Yeah. I think what's interesting is when you win, it fuels your purposes, and it gives you that pep in the step or puts the wind in your sails, with the wind at your back, and then you're like Ernie Banks, you want to play doubleheaders, That's what, you want to get back on the court as quick as possible. Now, within reason, I'm also glad when we have some off days to regenerate, kind of recharge, but also get some practices in where you're able to maybe clean up an aspect of play or add a new wrinkle to something offensively or get deeper into your counters or some refinement, as well as revisiting the old, fundamentals, passing and catching, your cutting, your screening, things like that. So, but I don't sense with this group any kind of that element, like, mental fatigue, or I think partly because we've substituted pretty liberally, and until more recently our rotation was 10 or 11. Now we've tightened the rotation some, but we also have players that have gained experience that we can turn to when there is a quick turnaround, or for a particular game, we're gonna really ramp up in the full court pressure and rotate more fresh bodies into the game. So, and then obviously we're in a good way because of the winning and the confidence that breeds. So it hasn't been a concern. I haven't seen any signs of that to this point.